Myanmar, and good morning to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what is the 5th sustainability briefing for Telenor Myanmar, held annually since 2014. When entering Myanmar, we expressed our commitment to be open and transparent to our business, to the challenges we face, and not least to how we approach tackling the challenges. This report and overview today is an attempt on our side again to be updating you on the areas that we have defined as important and where we are trailing in terms of progress. Let me start by reminding us all why and what was the mission when Telenor entered Myanmar. Our mission remains the same. It's steadfast, based around the fact that we want to provide connectivity to all people of Myanmar through mobile services, wherever they live, wherever they work, wherever they travel. This is a huge challenge in itself, given the country's geographical, social, political challenges and risks. Beyond the connectivity is our ambition then to be able to aspire to drive standards. Standards for the industry, of developing our people, and the business ecosystem that we are a part of. And by building sustainable and responsible business practices that can stand the test of time and also the scrutiny of world standard. That's the mission. Let me reflect first on 2017 before we're looking ahead. And 2017 was an exciting year both for the industry and also then for Telenor. On the connectivity side, Myanmar is now almost fully connected. I've always said that, and I said that last year, that everyone who wants to have a SIM card has one in their pocket. Usually has 2, in some cases even 3. We have built out our network in line with the commitment that we have given to the government. We're now covering more than 90% of the population of Myanmar, and we have on air more than 8,000 sites. We know our services play a central role in the daily lives of more than 19 million people now spread across the country. And we continue to expand the digital network and our services. Consumers today have access to information that was almost inconceivable a few years ago. And for many, it becomes an opportunity to not only connect to the world and what's important to them personally, but it's also an opportunity for some even to break out of poverty. And that's the power that lies in the connectivity journey. And Telenor is there to help empower societies with the means and possibilities that we have. What's interesting is to look at the network. The network usage is now record high. We have never produced more minutes, never produced more data megabytes that runs through our network than we do today, sitting here. We observed that for a 4G user, the average usage of a 4G customer is now 5.6 gigabytes per month. 5.6 gigabytes per month of usage can be compared to any top cities in the developed world. There is no global differentiation now of consumption appetite of data, which we sit there in Myanmar and which we find then in global cities across the world. As such, we have throughout 2017 and in the last 12 months chosen to invest even further in Myanmar. We have invested $160 million in additional spectrum to make sure that all the 4G customers are able to get the best quality network possible to service their needs. And we are rolling out now the network in township and city by city, and we have now reached 135 cities and townships with our 4G connectivity. I know that there are many that claims that we have the best network, and I will be humble enough to not rely on my own words, but there is the fact that there are 2 big sources for measuring the network and the network quality. Open Signal and Ookla has now recently confirmed, both of them independently, that Telenor Myanmar holds the fastest and more consistent network in Myanmar, and we are proud of that. And we're even more proud to see that this ranking is also done on an Asian benchmark, and from an Asian benchmark, the networks we have able to provide in Myanmar are at par with the very, very best in the region. And we will continue to progress city by city on the 4G, going also now in 2018. On the economy side and our contribution there, a vibrant business will always provide strong benefits to the economy and to the society at large. We have to date invested $2 billion in our network rollout. We anticipate to continue to invest more because the journey is not done, and it will be focused on the quality and the rural expansion which is left in our rollout commitment. This will keep benefiting real people, families, communities and companies across Myanmar, including the deep rural areas like Chin, Sagaing and Shan State, which we now are in the last leg of rollout. In addition, it's worth mentioning that our financial priorities has been very clear. You will be able to read our financial statement as part of Telenor Group, and you have seen that we have been financially healthy in the first years of operation, but we have chosen to also invest. All earnings made, all profits made has been reinvested into our build-out. So as of today, we have not repatriated a single kyat from Myanmar. Everything has been put into new investments. Generating tax revenues is a vital thing for any developing economy, and Myanmar is no exceptions. In 2016, we became the first operator, and still to date, I think the only operator that reports our tax contribution to Myanmar. And to date, Telenor alone, as a single entity company, has contributed to 378 billion kyats in taxes and license and spectrum fees contribution to the union government and to the country. With this development, there are few industry sectors that can claim a faster contribution and such a positive effect on the economy and the society at large than what we have seen, not only from Telenor, but then the industry itself. A further point to note, and I think I reflected on it last year, is the study of the direct contribution of job creation. And a global study conducted by KPMG, this is becoming now 2015 and 2016, showed the implications. We are still a small company by size. 750 people is the direct employment. Then there are roughly around 2,000 more people in the sales force. But as a totality of the value chain, it's 110,000 jobs that has been created through the supply chain of Telenor. An additional 140,000 jobs are included if you count employee spending linkage. So in a total, 250,000 jobs means that 500 jobs are created for each and every one Telenor employee. As for the standards, we mentioned is part of the mission why we're here, bringing up standards. And as for bringing up standards and practices, I'm happy to still report that 100%, meaning everyone we do business with of our suppliers, are signed up to our agreement for responsible business conduct. We call them the ABC, which mandates our suppliers and their subcontractors all the way through to follow the same anti-corruption, human rights, labor rights, and other responsible business practices as ourselves. After a rigorous training program, we and our first-tier suppliers have followed this up by conducting inspections. Inspections is there to check and see, are we living up to what we say and what we commit to? And today we have conducted in total with our vendors 26,000 inspections to ensure that standards are being followed. In our view, they are not mere sort of check marks to get through and to be measured up against. They are rather a social purpose-driven approach that makes lasting and positive change in the society. I'll come back to it and actually show you some example of what we mean by that in a video later. Another point to note is we're building a company. We're building a company which we want to be a local company. And today we have 92% of the employees are local. And that is increasing, and they're becoming experts in their field. There was a very little size of experts in telecom before we arrive, and our duty and obligation is to be able to build skills and build a local workforce to be able to carry both this company and the industry as such forward. And last but not least, our social impact programs have positively now reached 540,000 beneficiaries in Myanmar, mainly in the areas where we feel we have a chance to make a difference, and that is with the digital literacy and mobile health, and the numbers keep increasing as the programs are expanding as well. Looking forward, we see the government has started to take their first step on building a digital economy. With the formation of Digital Economy Development Committee, or the DEDC, in the mid-2017, and then the E-Government Committee in early 2018, with support from the highest level of government, we believe now that building a digital economy is high on the government's agenda. Telenor aims to support this. Support the government in meeting its digital economy objectives. And in February 2018, we launched a report called Realizing Digital Myanmar, which presents a series of recommendations in order to develop a competitive digital economy. In writing this report, we sought extensive input from the DEDC to ensure that the recommendations not only are ambitious, but they are possible to implement. We have structured the report in 7 key areas, which we think is the essence to be able to construct a digital economy. And it is framed here also in the presentation under the digital frameworks. It's the digital infrastructure. That's the heart of the business we are providing support to. It's a digital ecosystem, and it's a digital skills. Digital skills is again something we put a lot of our effort to make sure we also can contribute positively to. And on top of this lies the digital services that contributes to the economic growth that can be built on these firm foundations. The report contains analysis of each of these 7 areas, where the country is today in terms of status and activities, challenges to take it forward, and then recommendations, in our view, of what is possible to do and what should be done. We also include some case studies across the region particularly to show how it's done in other places and give inspiration and thoughts for how to move forward. I see some of you already have the report. There's a copy outside for those who want. You can also download it and have it electronically. I encourage you to have a look. I encourage you to be part of the debate, because that's essentially what we're trying to do, be part of the dialogue of what is needed. And we are only one part of it. I encourage the whole business community to be so as well.
We breathe the same air. We walk the same earth. We feel the same emotions. Yet are we all equal? The world needs new tools to help us all push ahead. Imagine having everything from your doctor, to your money, to the ability to register your newborn child, all in the palm of your hand, along with new skills, new knowledge, and a world of opportunities to put them to use. Opportunities that are built on a foundation of respect, integrity, and responsibility. Companies and organisations that seek to raise standards and reduce inequalities. Everywhere, for everyone.
Sustainability at Telenor is about how we do business. Yes, what we do matters, but so does how we do our work. We will always strive to ensure that we act responsibly and with integrity at all levels, wherever we operate. Telenor is committed to the UN Sustainability Development Goals and focusing particularly on the number 10 goal, which is called Reduced Inequalities. We will do this by raising standards and delivering wider access to our services. The way we run our company is based on the clear standards on everything from privacy to anti-corruption, energy efficiency and human rights. In practice, this means working to continuously improve what we're doing and working with our partners and suppliers to do the same. It is a learning process. It's not an end goal. The other key focus for us is to increase access to our services. We want to help unlock the benefits of the digital revolution and demonstrate how more can be achieved with connectivity. In Myanmar, we have made financial inclusion more available and affordable through Wave Money, offering unbanked customers a real alternative. Our internet services have opened possibilities to interact, learn, and participate and grow both socially and economically. Our social impact programs have benefited, as I said, 540,000 people already, and we intend to grow further. In our view, we have only seen the beginning of this digital revolution and what it can bring for education, health, and financial inclusion for more people. For the remaining parts of the presentation, I will try to look forward. What is going to be our priorities going forward? And I will focus on 3 areas of responsible business that are already well integrated into our normal business operation, and I've shared progress updates on them in the previous years, and I will continue to do so also this year. It will be around the supply chain integrity and safety. It will be about energy innovation, and it will be about battling corruption challenges. The important here is to show transparency of areas where we expect there will be public debate and interest on, and we will still need to hold very high standards. I will then cover 3 issues that requires a greater focus from the government and ourselves, leading up to 2020 in order to seek positive and needed transformations to happen. And that will be in the area of rule of law situation, servicing the ethnic areas, and lastly, empowering our workforce. Our business relies on a very large supply chain, spanning over 300 vendors. Some of you are in this room today, and I'm happy for that, because this is a journey we do together. We seek to ensure the safety, the well-being, and ethical treatment of all who work with Telenor and any capacity anywhere in the country. The video you just saw now shows a typical process of how we do inspections. Starting from the time our outsourced inspectors from Bureau Veritas arrived at the tower and how they conduct a typical inspection. And these inspections are vital for us and our vendors, as rolling out our network in Myanmar has been a continuous learning curve full of challenges. From day one, we knew that it will be a slow process of accepting our standards of way how to operate on the ground, and in particularly related to health and safety and underage workers at the tower sites. Our operation in Myanmar includes hundreds of partners, like I said, throughout the value chain. All of these partners are held to the same business standards as ourselves, and what we practice wherever we operate. All Telenor partners and vendors sign an agreement for responsible business conduct. This agreement holds vendors to supplier conduct principles covering human rights, labor rights, health and safety, privacy, freedom of expression, and corruption standards. We train and monitor and we follow up, and I told you we had in total 26,000 inspections. 12,000 of them are done by ourselves, 14,000 are done by the vendor themselves. 99% of them are unannounced, and that's the trick. It's not announced inspection, they're unannounced, and they've been completed now in total then by the end of 26,000. We did a change. In July 2017, we outsourced all our supply chains inspection to Myanmar, to Bureau Veritas, one of the largest certification and inspection providers in the world. We did this to provide greater independency and credibility to the inspection being done, while also allowing us to focus more on our core telecom operations. And we are pleased, I believe, to have members also on Bureau Veritas in the audience. They have done an excellent job to date in helping us to successfully manage the risks in the supply chain. If I look at the findings can be analyzed and then taking learnings from all the time, and that's how we work with them. Findings are the case of learnings. One of the finding categories we report on always, and which we are public on, is fatalities, which is a risk in the business that we operate in, though our ambition remains steadfast that nobody should die in the course of building out a telecom network. I've already earlier reported 3 cases back in 2014 and 2015. Those were facilities relating to working on tower sites. And then I reported 0 facilities in 2016 and 0 facilities in 2017. However, and I bring this up also here today for full transparency, we unfortunately also have 1 fatality that breaks the progress of the last 2 years, and we're reporting it now in January 2018. It was one of our distributor staff which was hit by a train during a marketing visit near Naypyidaw. Though the police and ambulance were called immediately, they were unfortunately unable to assist and save the life of the gentleman. Immediate support and financial assistance has been provided as per process to the next in kind by Telenor, our distributors and our staff. We will continue to run what we do, and that is the biannual road safety training and retraining for all our distributor staff going forward to help and ensure that new joiners are attending these trainings early on in their onboarding. On the more positive side of the development, we note that our major findings are declining 50% quarter by quarter since we started our business. These are defined as working in heights without safety gear, unsafe excavation of a tower site, child and underage labor, or a breach of our ABC and national laws. This comes on the back of rigorous risk-based inspection programs, capacity building, and follow-up in cases of non-compliance. Within these major findings, I would like to expand a little on the child and underage labor. We follow the same rule for underage labor as in any of the Telenor markets. Whether you are in Norway, Sweden, in Thailand, or in Malaysia, it's the same that applies. And by signing the supplier conduct principles, all parties agree that nobody under the age of 15 years old will be employed directly or indirectly for Telenor business. And this is in line with the ILO conventions. Additionally, Telenor Group has defined the age requirements for tower construction sites to be at a minimum of 18 years old, as it is considered to be aspects which are potentially hazardous. This is also in line with the ILO convention and recent local laws. And all our suppliers are fully aligned on this. Challenges do remain still. The reality is that local law and poverty have made it a cultural acceptance for young children to enter the workforce. The law, changed in January 2016, says that a child has the right to do part-time work from 14 years of age. Compulsory schooling stops at 12 years of age. Already there you have a dilemma. Many children are the sole breadwinner and need to work to supplement the family income. So given these challenges, we are pleased to see that the child and underage labor have not been detected in our supply chain from 2017 and onwards, mainly because suppliers and their sub-suppliers have better now understood our standards and the consequences, not least, of not being able to meet these standards. And we will continue to strive to lower the rate of major findings going forward through understanding the root causes and such incidents and mandating our suppliers to address these causes. Information communication and technology companies such as Telenor are significant energy users and are therefore a source of the greenhouse gases emission associated with climate change. We started reporting on funding from both an environment, operational, and a community perspective. Primary preference is to get our sites on grid. Today, as you see on the screen, we're reporting 58% of all our sites are connected to grid. This is up 8% year over year, but it's clear we are hitting a plateau now, which is difficult to make major improvements happening year over year with the current pace and availability of the network grid. But I'm happy to see that we are improving with 8%, despite now that the majority of new towers we put in play are in deep rural areas. This was primarily driven by significant investments by us and the towerco companies in extending the grid to our towers, meaning we did the job of providing then and building new transformers pylons and other electric infrastructure to be able to reach and go the distance to meet where the power grid stops. And it's a huge task. And it's challenging, and it's slow, and it's cumbersome. But we've taken upon ourselves to go even that far to see if we can connect where there is a chance and a remote possibility of doing so. The remaining 42% of sites then are not connected to the grid and use a total of 40 million liters of diesel in 2017. And to reduce environment and noise impact on these sites, we have done measures. First measure is we switch off the generator during nighttime in some places. Currently, a third of all our diesel generators sites are switched off at night. To enable this, we have equipped 1,200 sites with high-capacity lithium-ion batteries, which then can be charged in smaller period of time and then last for a longer period of time in usage. These initiatives reduce generator usage by 40%, and that's what you saw in the video as well being illustrated. But to further reduce our environment and noise impact, we have built more solar sites. We have added then, as you saw, we have come to 177 sites now. And if you do recall and have a strong memory, you remember that last year I said we were hoping to be at 500. So we haven't come as far as we wanted to be by the end of 2017 on solar deployment. But we were unable to do so due to contracting issues with our suppliers. Nonetheless, these issues have been resolved to a great extent, and I hope that we're able to report when this year closes that we have had greater progress. And I'm looking at ending the year in the range of 800 to 900 solar sites being then active. And these initiatives reduces the diesel generator significantly, with as much as 75%. And that's where the benefit lies in being able to deploy solar. But despite these actions, noise pollution is also an issue. In particularly has proven to be a challenge in many areas of the countries, because 38% or 39% of our sites are located near a village. And we've been very open on that, and if you see the progress on this, this is actually a progress which has flattened out, which means despite us rolling out the majority of new sites now, we're able to get away from the villages, but you see it's still an increase of 1% year over year. We have attempted to mitigate this by equipping 900 sites with silent, we call them super silent diesel generators. They produce a noise level of 60 dB on the generator, and that is up by 30% year over year. We're also trying to build as far as possible from villages. However, land zoning issues forbid towers to be placed in paddy fields and fallow land, and it remains an issue till date. Today, only 5% of our sites are in paddy field land. It is an improvement from last year, but we urge the government assistance to allow construction on paddy and fallow land outside villages to further reduce the noise level. We will continue to look for innovation at our lower-end environmental footprint and energy utilization in the coming years, including increasing the reuse of renewable energy. Next topic is addressing corruption. Corruption is a challenge everywhere in the world. It's not limited to any country or any region. But it is fair to say, if you look at the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, that yet again the region we are in holds challenges on corruption. As such, we continue to be vigilant and have anti-corruption high on our own agenda. Ethics and anti-corruption consideration are an integrated part of Telenor's business activities and decisions across all functions and level, and our anti-corruption program undergoes regular reviews and assessment with the aim of making it efficient and as relevant as possible. We train our employees, all of them, We train our suppliers also extensively to understand and avoid corruption. We require annual reconfirmation and recommitment by all Telenor employees on the Telenor Code of Conduct to ensure that employees work the Telenor way. Through 2016 and 2017, we have strengthened our anti-corruption training and awareness efforts by ensuring a higher degree of local content, using dilemmas and examples that are locally and culturally relevant for our staff. We'll continue to do and improve on this because this is where we're gaining a lot of positive traction on. We continue to work closely with our partners and supply chain in order to minimize risk. They are all contracted to adhere to our zero tolerance policy, and we give training and local language anti-corruption handbooks available. Despite these initiatives, we find that it's still challenging to get employees to fully speak up about corruption. We will increase the scale of our anti-corruption training to explain that, for example, paying out of your own pocket is not acceptable to Telenor. And that KPIs, performance KPIs, which you might be working under, can be renegotiated if corruption is the cause from not achieving them. In terms of internal control, we operate under a strict no-gift policy, where it's forbidden for Telenor employees to give or receive any gifts, and that's regardless of the size of the gift and the value. The expectations to this the exception from this is only branded merchandise. So if you see a blue Telenor t-shirt, we can give that. And all these things which are available as merchandise will be then accepted from the no-gift policy. And I know also flowers I've given exceptions for, so those are the two main exceptions, flowers and merchandise. And we also run our compliance hotline, which allows employees, wherever you might be, and even partners of us, to directly report if they see incidences of non-compliance, and they can do so on two hotlines. One to us in Telenor Myanmar, there's even one international where you call and you actually are calling to our group headquarters in Norway, which then are facilitating this hotline. Key business decisions with risk of corruptions are vetted in what we call then the Ethics and Compliance Committee internally. That's a committee which I chair personally to reduce the risk of corruption throughout our business. Furthermore, we continue to strengthen this by appointing a dedicated ethics and compliance officer to cater for our ongoing education of employees, activities, and also how to meet the complexity and challenges in the best possible way. All sponsorships are now approved at the group level to ensure consistent decision-making throughout. Furthermore, we commission risk based on integrity due diligence before engaging in any organization or supplier. The due diligence identifies various aspects affecting our reputation risk associated with any of the organization we might do business with, which includes a review of the organization's reputation and their history of legal non-compliance, such as sanctions, tax evasions, bribery, and others, both at an organizational and at the company director level. We only engage with organizations once they pass this IDD rigorous test. If any supplier breaches the ABC, we will terminate these suppliers.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့အမကျမပါကူညီပေးရမလဲရှင်ကျမတို့မှာအခုပြဿနာတစ်ခုဖြစ်နေပေါ့နော်ကျမညီမလေးကသူချစ်သူနဲ့လိုက်ပြေးသွားလို့အခုသူတို့ဘက်မှာရှိနေလဲဆိုတော့ကျမမသိရဘူးပေါ့နော်ကျမတို့မိသားစုစုလုံးလည်းစိတ်ပူနေကြတယ်ညီမလေးက Telenor စိတ်ကသုံးနေရှင်အခုချက်ကြီးလည်းသုံးနေတော့မယ်ဆိုတော့လေအဲ့ဒီညီမလေးသုံးတဲ့ Telenor နံပါတ်ပုံမူတည်ပြီးတော့ကျမညီမလေးဘက်မှာရှိနေလဲဆိုတော့လေမတို့အနေနဲ့ကူညီရှာပေးလို့ရမလားရှင်
About data privacy and authority request. What you saw here in the video is not uncommon. Meaning a customer will walk into our building in Telenor. They will ask whether they can get hold of their data. In this case, the lady is asking if she can get hold of somebody else's data with the understanding that somebody is missing and we need to find them. Please show me with hands, if you can be part of this, to see the dilemma here. Should we release information on a case like this or not? How many say yes? She's claiming it's a missing person. We would need to sort of help and see if we can help find it with the data. No hands? One hand, and show me the hands also, so I'm just sure that you're not showing your hands, but that we should not release. Okay, very good. Because Telenor believes, first of all, we believe in the promise of emerging technologies and our vision to empower society. We strive to provide new and innovation services while maintaining a firm dedication to fair processing and data protection. Privacy is important to us, and we take pride in protecting our customers' privacy and are committed to earning their trust. We do this by keeping information safe and secure and by being transparent about how we handle it. We are able to provide data on the customer's own SIM at any time, provided that you are the rightful and valid owner of the SIM. And this is why it's so important to register the SIM cards in your name, so that you can request your own data if you need so. Or order a replacement SIM if you also need to. Or use financial services if you need to. And also, not least, not be liable of the actions that others might be doing in your name. So it's very clear from the video clip, we get this request, we can never ascertain and give data on anyone else's behalf. It is Telenor's interpretation of the telecom law that releasing of confidential information requires a court order. As an interim arrangement, pending clear legislation on this area, Telenor requires that all requests for releasing of confidential customer information is sent from the police to the telecom regulator, the PTD, and with their consent and for a release, Telenor obligations under the license with the supporting documents, this can be done. But independent of the approval from PTD, Telenor performs its own assessment of each and every case we get and has complied with only 42 out of these requests via PTD. We cannot give details on these cases, but I can say that these were related to murder, drug, and missing person investigations. When it comes to shutdown and censorship, we are still pleased and repeat the message we have been saying also last year, that we have not received any request for network shutdown and no request for censorship or blocking. These are positive points for the industry and the conduct of the government in this respect so far. In February now, this year, 2018, there was an amendment in Parliament to the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Law. We mention this because it's a concern for us that the recently modified Narcotic and Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Law in its current form will require us to release customer data through various channels without due process potentially. We We are currently making our views heard through various channels to ensure that the privacy right of our customers are protected. This case also highlights why it's so important to enact on the Cybercrime and Electronic Evidence Act as soon as possible to deal with these types of issues and other more holistically rather than taking them piece by piece. We advocated last year, I've advocated this year as well in different forums, that we would like to see that the cybercrime law is being taken forward. Because in developing a robust digital economy, it's critical to have an appropriate legal framework covering it. Our observation is that it remains a challenge to even updating the relevant policy and the legal frameworks to keep pace with the fast-changing technology advancements. We are aware that the Council of Europe developed a draft framework of the Cybercrime and Electronic Evidence Act last year, but the progress through the various ministries has proven to be slow. For example, hate speech spread through Facebook and other social media channels have proven capable of inciting hatred, conflict and crisis all over the world. And Myanmar has also had experience with this. So to this end, we strongly encourage the government to put in place the required legislation framework for the new digital world in order to create a secure environment for customers, digital service providers and government. Rule of law. The new government has made rule of law one of its central policy platforms. We are encouraged by the government's actions and achievements in improving the persistence of rule and law nationwide. However, we still see that we are using significant resources to enforce our legal rights. Continued issues in this area lead to inefficiency in the economy and have already caused difficulties in meeting our license commitments, particularly in Yangon actually, and Mandalay. Within our industry, it is vital that all operators abide to the competition law, the telecom law, and the rules and regulation at all times to ensure a free and a fair competition. We encourage the regulator to enforce regulations across all 4 operators equally to ensure that the level of playing field is fair. This would be best facilitated by having an independent regulator to ensure that decisions are taken in line with the long-term national interest. The current regulator is still not independent of MPT and its owner, the Ministry of Transport and Communication, as mandated initially by the 2015 telecom law. This creates an inherent interest or conflict of interest, which may distort free and fair competition. So we keep encouraging and we keep advocating that the MCRC law to be implemented. An independent regulator is now making its way through Parliament, and we hope to see that it's being enacted and implemented in the very near future. We still face issue gaining needed access to key fiber and tower infrastructure as permitted by the telecom law, and have still to date restricted access to other operators' towers. As rollout in future years will be in low population areas, meaning we're going in the last leg of the rollout in the deep rural areas, providing affordable services is key. But that requires infrastructure sharing. We cannot all build highways and have 3-4 highways to every village in this country. We need to find a way of sharing the infrastructure, because there's not enough cars to be on 4 infrastructure roads on data. We need to have one which we can share, especially in the remote areas of the country. It is therefore vital that a future independent regulator looks into this area with high priority. serving ethnic areas. As I described earlier in my presentation, as an industry, we are providing services to over 90% of the population today. New towers in future years will be in increasingly rural areas where population density is significantly lower. Such expansion is vital in building an inclusive digital economy where everyone can participate, not only the few, and requires an assistance from what we call then the Universal Service Fund for feasibility of doing this. The USF, the Universal Service Fund, all licensed telecom operators have to contribute a proportion of their revenues to this fund, which we recommend is targeted only towards building vital and new rural telecom infrastructure that will form the foundation for digital services to come. The strategy for this fund is currently undergoing consultations, and the target is initially then to reach a 99% mobile voice and 95% mobile broadband coverage by 2022. When entering deep rural areas, we anticipate encountering ongoing military conflicts, particularly in Kachin, North Shan, and northern Rakhine states. As the personnel security of our staff and suppliers are paramount to everything we do, we have employed from the very beginning a security team in Telenor, whose only role is to maintain safety and understanding of the safety for all our employees, and also in the communication with employees of our vendors. And what you see on the map here is this color-coded security map of the country. And this one shows the red areas where Telenor staff and vendors are not permitted to travel due to the high risk of conflict. In the green areas, travel is permitted, and though in the yellow areas, Telenor staff and vendors need to seek approval from our security team on a case-by-case basis. And this work is continuously ongoing and monitoring the situation on the ground. And these maps are then continuously then updated and communicated accordingly across. Further, as deep rural areas are unlikely to have grid access, most new towers will be off-grid. If the land zoning issues I described earlier are not addressed, we will continue to face community issues due to noise, as towers will have to be placed close to the villages. We will continue to preemptively reduce our environmental and noise footprint by installing grid access, solar, and hybrid solutions or silent generators. If community issues still arises, despite these actions, we will seek the assistance of what we have in our organization called State Liaison Officers. We have 8 of them, and there are 8 ethnic staff living in these ethnic states. And their role is to ensure and understand and help the communities understand the benefits of the new technology, but also be open about how we are tackling the challenges. This is to help resolve the community issues as and when they arise. And this is how we're working with it. Furthermore, we will continue to face arbitrary local taxation from ethnic groups. Telenor takes a clear position on this. We will not pay any taxes to any group other than the union government. And our anti-corruption policy forbids other types of payment. Instead, with the assistance of the SLOs, we collaborate closely with the ethnic groups to explain the benefits of connectivity in their areas and to exploit opportunities to improve the livelihood of the local community. Should ethnic groups then continue to insist on payments, we are unable to expand our network in these areas, and we will stop the rollout also subsequently there. One successful example is our long-standing cooperation with the Kayan New Land Party, or the KNLP, which controls land at the border of 5 states and regions in eastern Myanmar. We have developed here a model where the community is employed in the tower construction and also on the ongoing lifelong operation and maintenance services. This means they're able to see and get benefit both from building towers and being part of having jobs of operating them over time. We have also provided a Lighthouse Digital Literacy Center at the location, which trains local communities in understanding how to get the most economic and social benefits from the network and use of their smartphone. I invite you to listen to the chairman of KNLP yourself and hear what he has to say on this.
ကျွန်တော်ပါတီက1964ကနေပေါ်ပေါက်လာတဲ့တရားတိုင်းသားခေါင်းဆောင်မှုပေးတဲ့အမျိုးသားနိုင်ငံရေးပါတီတရားဖြစ်ပါတယ်။ဒီမှာဒုတိယကမ္ဘာစစ်ပြီးတော့စီအိုကြီးရစိတ်စားတဲ့ဆံမှာတရားလူငယ်တွေကပညာတတ်တဲ့ဥပဒေသားဆိုတဲ့လူသူငယ်တော့ကသူတိုးနေပြီးတော့တွေ့ရတယ်လောကဓာတ်ဆိုတာတွေ့ထားပြီးဖြစ်တော့ဒါကြီးအလေးစိတ်ထုတ်ပြရတယ်။ဒါငါတို့အတွက်အကျိုးဖြစ်နိုင်တယ်စီအိုကြီးဖြစ်နေငါတို့တောင်းတနေဆိုတော့တောင်းတဲ့ထဲမှာအဲ့ကိစ္စအဆင်ပြေလာ56 59ကိုအကောင့်တွေပေါ်တိဆောက်နေချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်တရားလူတွေလည်းအများကြီးပါဝင်တော့လောကဆိုင်တာခုနေကိုဖြတ်ဖြစ်ပေးတာမျိုးပါဝင်မှုဆောင်ရွက်တာဒီနေ့အထိလည်းဒီမီးလောကီတာမီးနဲ့ပတ်သက်တရားလူတွေကဘာမှခံစားခွင့်မရှိဘူးပြောလို့ရတော့ခုနတီလုံတော့တိုင်တွေကလည်းမဟာဓာတ်အလိုင်းတိုင်တွေတရံတူးနေတဲ့ခါကျတော့တရားလူတွေရဲ့အလေးထားစေတတိထားစေကျွန်တော်ပါတီတင်ပြကျွန်တော်ကပြောရအောင်ဒါကြောင့်နော်တီလုံတို့လူကြီးတွေနဲ့တွေ့ဆုံတဲ့အခါအကျိုးကြားတွေအပြည့်စုံပြောပြတဲ့အခါကျတော့အဲ့လိုဆိုရင်တော့တီလုံတို့ကုမ္ပဏီဘက်ကကျွန်တော်အကျိုးတူဖိတ်ပါတယ်လို့ပြောလာတာဖြစ်တယ်ကျွန်တော်ကသဘောတူလိုက်တာတီလုံတို့ကိုရဲ့ဝင်လာတဲ့အခါမှာကျွန်တော်ရဲ့ညှိနှိုင်းသဘောတူညီမှုအရဒါလေကျွန်တော်ဒီကချုပ်ပြီးကျွန်တော်တရားလူမျိုးတွေရဲ့လူမှုဘောကဖြစ်ပေါ်တိုးပွားရေးအတွက်အထောက်အကူဖြစ်တဲ့လုပ်ငန်းကြီးတွေဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်ဒီလိုမျိုးလုပ်ငန်းဆောင်ရွက်တာဖြစ်တယ်အဲ့တော့တရားဒေသကိုတယ်လီနိုးကိုရဲ့ကနောက်ထုတ်ပြီးနိုင်အောင်မင်းဆိုတော့အဲ့အစတော့ကျွန်တော်ညှိနှိုင်းသဘောတူခဲ့အခုဆိုရင်တော့လမ်းကြီးအတိုင်းအတာတစ်ခုတော့ရောက်နေပြီဖြစ်ပါတယ်
And I've had the pleasure of meeting the chairman many times, and the interesting part is now he's pushing us. He's pushing us for more sites. So it's gone the other way around of trying to offer him the minimum of being able to cover his area, and now he's actually telling us, can we get more? He clearly sees the benefit both from the society, local community, and this is a success story in that sense. I'll talk a bit about how it is servicing the ethnic areas in relation to the Rakhine crisis as well. The Rakhine crisis affected 2 townships in northern Rakhine on 25th of August 2017. We view with great concern the escalating development in the region and do support the main recommendations in the final report of the Advisory Commission of Rakhine State, chaired by Kofi Annan. We do share the call for open dialogue and sustained engagement between all actors to chart a positive vision for the future of Rakhine State. Telenor Myanmar is committed to rolling out mobile network in all states across the country, including Rakhine, and providing mobile and internet access to all people without discrimination. At the start of the crisis, Telenor Myanmar had 13 towers in the affected Lutingdong and Mongdo townships. When the crisis hit, our first action was to evacuate all staff and vendors alike in the area, as safety is our first priority. This evacuation and military restriction in the area had led to a shortage of fuel to our network, which meant that our network availability in this area was temporarily impacted. And this is what I'm trying to show on the illustration here. To your right-hand side, you will see that 9 towers went down 4 to 5 days after the crisis started. This is because our diesel generator holds roughly around 10 days worth of fuel and were last refueled several days before the crisis, and with no refueling you empty them and they will stop functioning, and there's no grid connect to back up or actually rescue the site then. At its worst, all 13 towers were down for nearly 3 weeks in September. However, following discussions with the state government and the Myanmar Red Cross, in the 3rd week of September, we were able to re-establish our fuel supply lines to the towers in the area. We had some further minor power and transmission issues in October, November and December. 1 tower remained offline all the way up until November, as it was very close to the border where security restrictions remain in place for longer. By January, you can see from also the graph which shows then the availability of the network, the availability returned to similar levels as before the crisis. We want to highlight that we did not receive any request for network shutdowns or censorships from the government. To the contrary, we received instructions to keep our network online to the extent possible. Our actions are reflective of the statements released by Telenor Group in September 2017, which emphasize our responsibility to continue providing service for all in all-inclusive manner. We will continue to monitor the situation on the ground closely to ensure our network is available for all in the future, in line with the government's instruction and our license commitment. My last topic is related around people and skills. I mentioned at the beginning, Telenor is here to build a local company, build skills, and empower people. So empowering our workforce is one of our greatest tasks. We are today in Telenor Myanmar a truly diverse organization. Women are a significant source of quality human capital all around the world, but certainly also here in Myanmar, if not even more so. We see today an increasing stream of quality women talents in Myanmar, and their numbers in universities often are significantly outnumbering the men. We aim to provide them with the best chances of succeeding in their careers by providing a supportive work environment that nurtures their growth and their development. We are proud today to say that we have 40% of our employees, more than that, are women, and 30% of leadership positions are occupied by women. We are the first also in Myanmar to offer 6 months maternity leave for women, young women who starts a family. And the reasoning is we want them to come back. We want them to be able to bring up a family, have the ability to do so, and come back also, and have a career. We were the first also to introduce flexible working hours to make work possible with some flexibility. Our office time is also closing at 4:30, which leaves opportunities to get back to your family and have dinner whenever that's possible as well. Amongst our employees, we are proud to mention that 92% of all employees are locals now. And that's increasingly becoming expert now in their own fields of work. But Telenor has invested significantly over time and still are doing so in bringing expertise from all across Telenor Group to Myanmar. Today we have people contributing from more than 15 nationalities working alongside our local employees in a way that is very much a mentoring setup. It's a mentoring organization where we're bringing experts that can teach and train a certain area and then know that their task here is to make somebody else be successful in that job going forward and have the skills to do so. That's a successful journey for an expert. These are seasoned and experienced executives who are deeply familiar with the Telenor culture and also the way of working. And we also continue to invest in the growth and the development of staff and talents. High-performing employees are often selected to attend executive development programs at top universities like London Business Schools, INSEAD, and we have now, up until today, around 132 employees within the company that has been part of these kind of programs over the last 3 years. And in a volatile and changing sector, which ours are, it's an enormous change pace in our sector. We all have to keep being retrained and rebuilding. We're a firm believer that nobody is fully trained. You have to continue to be trained because the world around us is changing so fast. Our group CEO and president has set a challenge for all employees across the Telenor group, including then Myanmar, to allocate 40 hours of working time this year for learning and training in a field which is different from what you're doing today. We have signed up to all major online learning institutes to give our employees a chance to learn digitally anywhere and anywhere and at any time. Last but not least, the Telenor people culture is what keeps employees motivated and loyal to Telenor. We were once a startup, and we still want to maintain the mentality, the way of working as a startup company. As an entrepreneurial environment in our company grows and matures. We do this with the way of working. We call it the sprint way of working, and I can tell you now over 30% of all work being conducted in the company is done through these cross-functional projects where there is a time-based horizon and a problem to solve, and people get together to solve problems. And it's an amazing way of interacting across, but it's also the most efficient way to challenge ourselves of problem solving. Another aspect of being a startup is an agility and a productivity, and we maintain this through investing into digitalizing processes and automated tools so that our employees can spend less time on filling in paper forms and more times being in the field, being with the customers, understanding the customer's problem and how we can solve the customer's problems. Because that's why we are in business. That's our only right to be in business, so we can keep solving customer problems. Today, Telenor employees are able to request travel expenses, execute supply chain orders, conduct HR-related requests, communicate and monitor supplier, staff and the point of supplier, staff and the point of sales in the field digitally. And that's the digital way of working, which is part of empowering our workforce. We also care deeply about the safety of our employees. We do provide ferry services, so every employee will be picked up in a location near where they live on a ferry in the morning, and they will be driven home with ferries in the afternoon when work is done. Should you work overtime, which then happens as well, then you have an ability, especially for a woman, to take a taxi. We have a collaboration with Grab Taxi, where there are special taxis which is pre-approved that will pick up the ladies in the evening and make sure that they get home safe after work. As a responsible business, we recognize that proactive measures are sometimes needed to protect vulnerable groups and help them maximize the benefit of connectivity through our digital skills programs. These are typically long-term and showcase the use of communication and connectivity for social good. Such programs in Myanmar have benefited, as I said earlier, over 540,000 people to date. We keep investing in the socio-economic development of Myanmar, and we fully do so by our own profit. So using our services, another way of looking at also contributing to the neediest in society as well. Let me share now just a short video for you to get a little bit of sense of what we're doing and see the possibilities that lies in using digital skilled programs like this. Personally, I'm in love with this new project we have going, and you saw a glimpse of it there. That's the digital summer school. Currently now, all the children across Myanmar is having a break from the normal school, and we are inviting them in to learn something they don't learn in the normal school curriculum, meaning computer science. And that is a gift, we think, for the future for everyone to be behold, especially the young generation who really is the one who's going to carry this country and the digital economy forward. I've been pleased and blessed to be able to be part of some of this opening at the summer schools, and it's always impressive. We started last year with having 200 students as a pilot. We have been, with the good help of partners sitting in this room also here today, been able now to have the ambition of closing now this year with 25,000. And we dream about being able now next year to carry 100,000 people through the students through the system. And one fine day, maybe we make sure that every young student are able to have computer science training as part of their learning experience of growing up. So we'll do our bits here. There's tons to do, but these projects and others shows the type of impact we want to have in the society through our business. We try to look at things where we can scale, because we know technology that we can use, so that's where we look at first. We know where there's ability to make a difference, and that's where we try to enter and focus our priorities on. And we know that these things actually can make a real difference in terms of reducing inequalities extremely effectively. So for me to summarize, I think it is a positive outlook on things of what can we do together to move forward. But I want to just make it very clear, we have come very far with the rollout. I do mention 90%, and we have just a small part which is left in terms of meeting the full obligation. But I need to be mindful that the last leg of the rollout we have in the deep rural areas will be the most difficult one for us. And we need to tackle them as we go along, but we need collaboration. So we do repeat and appeal for clarity on the USF utilization, as well as for infrastructure sharing. Those are the two dominant things that can actually help and improve the rollout in the challenging part of now our last leg of rollout. The second part I would like to focus on is this enforcement of rules and regulations to ensure a free and fair competition. It's needed. Including in this is then the independent regulator, which I've talked about earlier today. As competition is growing, both as mobile operations, but also other OTT players are expanding business in Myanmar, it's important that we are regulated and held to the same standard. And my last notation is that Myanmar sits now with a tremendous opportunity. The infrastructure we all have seen, not only from us, but from the other players in the telecom sector, is now one of a kind almost. It's been deployed so fast with the latest of the best technology, and the quality is so high that the infrastructure now is an enormous asset to leverage. Combine that with the fact that 80% of all people of Myanmar carries a smartphone in their pocket, you have a combination that you have a quality infrastructure and a computer in the pocket to everyone, which means you can build a digital economy and you can build digital services on this like nothing else. So I repeat that I think there is a fantastic opportunity. Telenor is ready and willing to contribute in every shape and form we can do to continue to do what we do best, building infrastructure for digital services and supporting governments, advocating and advisory on how to take the journey forward. And with this, I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time for going through our Sustainability Brief 2018. Thank you.